WSU President Kirk Schultz shares a strong message in response to the recent rise in COVID cases.
And more information on the windstorm that hit eastern Washington over the weekend. Murrow News 8 starts now.
From the Northwest Public Broadcasting Studios on the campus of Washington State University, this is Murrow News 8.
Good evening, I'm Pamela Alarcon.
And I'm Isaac Connors. Welcome to Murrow News 8. Washington State's mass vaccination sites have hit the 150,000 vaccine milestone as of the beginning of last week. The 4 sites are located in Spokane, Ridgefield, Wenatchee, and Kennewick, and utilize both the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines. If you are eligible and located near one of these sites, you can make an appointment at the Washington State Department of Health website.
WSU President Kirk Schultz requires that students stop partying due to the spike in COVID cases. In a statement on social media Friday, Schultz said that kids need to do better. Schultz mentioned that if the parties and group gatherings do not stop and state health guidelines are not followed, students will be subject to action under the Student Code of Conduct. Although there are calls to stop parties, it seems that the parties continued this weekend. Pullman PD responded to five calls regarding parties. However, no citations were given as there were not enough people in these parties to be violations. WSU student Paige Campbell made a call on February 13th regarding a party of at least 20 people during Phase 2 where gatherings were limited to 15 people or less to report parties in Pullman PD.
Currently, Washington State is in Phase 3 where gatherings are limited to 50 people or less. The federal moratorium on evictions of tenants who have fallen behind on rent during the pandemic was set to expire Wednesday. The moratorium has been extended through the end of June by the Biden administration. The ban was initially put into place last year to protect renters out of concerns of families losing their homes. And thousands of eastern Washington residents were without power yesterday as strong winds blew throughout the region. Vista Utilities and Kootenai Electric reported over 12,000 total people were without power. Yesterday, the winds were at their worst Sunday, but are expected to die down this evening.
Child abuse reports and investigations have gone down nationwide by 18%, putting children at higher risk of abuse. With children out of the public eye due to the pandemic, the Associated Press analysis of the state data found more than 4,000 fewer reports regarding child welfare and 2,000 fewer investigations when compared to 2019 data. Amy Harfield, an expert on the Child Advocacy Institution, said, quote, "A loss in reports means greater potential for harm because there has not all of a sudden been a cure to child abuse," end quote.
ASWSU engineering students' idea utilizes trash to create electricity. When student Corey Nifon began brainstorming for his senior project, he thought of his family's homeland in Nigeria, specifically how spotty the electricity in the area was and how much trash he came across. Working with a team of engineering students, the team came up with a small-scale gasification device that would enable countries with limited resources to convert trash into electricity. The team received a grant from the University of Washington for their project and is also one of the 16 finalists in Alaska Airlines Environmental Innovation Challenge.
The bald eagle has seen a major resurge in population in the last 12 years. The eagle, which is a sacred species to the American Indian people and in the United States national symbol, was near the edge of extinction after the bird was hunted and poisoned for many years. But over the last 12 years, the eagle's population has soared to more than 360,000 strong. Wildlife officials say that the resurge in the bird population has to do with several successful conservation efforts. The trial for the officers involved in the death of George Floyd started today, seeing some of what goes on in the courtroom.
Are you needing something fun and educational for your kids? Colfax Library has some activities to keep the little ones busy. That's coming up on Murrow News 8.
Washington State University, an institute of...
Wait, let me show you WSU. We're about being hands-on and getting our hands dirty. We bring art to science and science to wine. We build Mars rovers and launch new medical schools, with the occasional pizza break. Now back to work, because we're always moving forward and leaving our mark on the world. Now that's my WSU.
Welcome back. The Ever Given ship blocking the Suez Canal has been refloated and moved, according to shipping authorities. The ship can be fully seen floating for the first time in days, and the global shipping giant Maersk wants the impacts of the closure due to the blockage will continue for several weeks as the blockage works its way through the ports.
Today marks the first day of former Minneapolis policeman Derek Chauv's trial in the death of George Floyd. Here's what one prosecutor said in the opening remarks. The trial is underway as results of the incident that took place last year, showing former police officer Chauv's pressing his knee on George Floyd's neck. Floyd repeatedly said that he could not breathe, but eventually died due to the lack of sufficient oxygen. The Whitman County Sheriff Office reported a high-speed chase happening Sunday morning at around 1:30 a.m. The driver reportedly led authorities on a chase through Pullman on Grand Avenue sometimes during the ongoing traffic, and the chase continued south of Pullman, reaching speeds of over 100 miles per hour. Eventually, spike strips were laid out and penetrated the driver's tires. Police arrested 2 people at the mill in East Lewiston.
A is for Apple and B is for Bumblebee. Our reporter Natalie Newcomb went out to meet one Colfax family that's learning the alphabet.
And what letter is that?
Me! The vampire.
Meet the Nolt family. They're working on their story time packet from the Whitman County Library System's Colfax branch. 3.5-year-old Savannah is getting ready to make a craft with the letter V, the letter of the week. And 5-year-old Madeline is busy coloring her story time packet. The mom of these two is Nikki.
So Madeline was telling us there's always a sticker that starts it off with the letter, and each week we build on the letter. So we're already to letter V.
Along with the sticker, these storytime packets have a craft with lots of gluing, practicing writing the letter V, and counting the vegetables on the page. And of course, lots of room to color. Nikki is a full-time working mom, and before the pandemic, the girls' babysitter took them to the library for story time.
And then now that the pandemic has hit, all those have been canceled. So it's been really fun for me to pick up these packets and do the things that the babysitter got to do while I was at work before. So now we get to do these at home as a family.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Now that story time can happen in the park, we can't forget to take breaks and go down the slide. Nikki says it's nice to be able to see your kids learn and not just hear about it. You can pick up new and past packets in person or through the curbside pickup. From Murrow News 8, I'm Natalie Newcomb.
Things are calming down weather-wise. As the wind subsides, Zach Anders is taking a look at how things are changing ahead into the rest of the week. Zach?
Hey guys, well, it certainly has been a busy weather week so far. Things are starting to certainly calm down and return to what we expect for this time of year, especially with the spring. Today's high was sitting around the low 40s. That's pretty typical. The low into tonight, though, is going to be what might surprise a couple of folks as we're going to dip into the low 20s. A chance for some flurries. It most likely won't stick, but some of that moisture is going to freeze. So folks that might have thought that they had the chance to get away with maybe pulling the hose protector off the side of their house, it could freeze again. So we might want to keep that on. Sunset today, 7:14. If you can believe it, a month ago, we were looking at 4 o'clock as our sunset, so we're really starting to get that daylight. And then some winds are still sticking with us. It's 17 mile an hour on the Palouse kind of remnants from what we saw yesterday. And looking forward to tomorrow, similar weather, not going to get any moisture. And the low tomorrow night is going to be a little bit warmer in the 30s, so not as much of a chance for a freeze. Then looking across the state, Pullman is trending mostly with the rest of our Eastern Washington counterparts, Spokane, the Tri-Cities, and Yakima, all sitting in the 50s into the low 30s at night. And then on the west side, really not much difference. Seattle 49 and Olympia 51. The 5-day forecast is going to be a tale of the 50s. We could just hit 50 degrees and really never look back for the rest of the spring here. Is it's going to be sitting around the mid 50s, high 50s, and that could be where we're at for the rest of the spring. But back to you guys.
Coming up, The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon gave a special shout out. Find out who it was for.
And the NBA had a special debut today. Find out more when we come back.
Pressure.
Expectations.
Overwhelmed.
Mental health issues are real.
Suicide is the second leading cause of death among people aged 15 through 24.
But it doesn't have to stay that way.
If you're going through a difficult time,
hope and help is only a phone call away.
On the playing field, it is important to lean on your teammates for help.
It is important to lean on each other off the field, too.
life isn't always easy and can sometimes feel overwhelming.
You don't have to face it alone.
We are all on the same team when it comes to looking out for each other.
There is hope.
You matter.
We care.
Help is just a phone call away.
The Gonzaga Bulldogs have been dominating the March Madness tournament so far, so much so that Jimmy Fallon gave them a shout out on The Tonight Show. He did a remix to the popular song called Watermelon Sugar by Harry Styles.
My bracket is in pieces. Why? Another buzzer beater. Why? Another buzzer beater. Why? What is a Gonzaga? Why? Sister Chief is help me. Why? Another buzzer beater. Why?
Jimmy Fallon poses a good question. What is a Gonzaga? Well, Gonzaga is one of the 8 teams that made it to the Elite 8 after their dominant win over Creighton Sunday. The NBA and the International Basketball Federation have helped establish the new Basketball Africa League. The new league will debut in Kigali, Rwanda, and include 12 teams playing 26 games in different countries around Africa. BAL president says the league will provide a platform for elite players across the continent to showcase their talents and inspire fans of all ages. A high school in Spokane gave out a very prestigious award to a fellow student.
We'll be right back.
It feels like no matter where you look, the state of the world's getting worse. Oceans full of plastic, an endless amount of waste, an impossible task ahead of fixing our beloved planet. But change can't happen if you do nothing. So here's where you should start. Reduce. Why? Because Americans produce more than 200 million tons of waste every year, and you don't want to add to that. Reuse. Why? Because reusing and repurposing cuts back on unnecessary waste, and it gives things a chance at new life. Recycle. Why? Because recycling creates jobs. It helps our community and it helps our planet. And after doing all this, what will we be left with? We'll be left with a planet that will slowly start to heal.
Have a good night, guys.